Hi, and welcome to the Squealo channel. It has come to my attention that TwoSet Violin have made a violin versus opera singer video. Now, I like TwoSet Violin, and I know that they're doing this as a joke, but it falls on me to make a reaction video. And so, here we go. The first thing they addressed in their video was warm-up. Now, Eddie was right when he started out with lip trills. Lip trills are the first and the most basic exercise that every opera singer must do. It warms up their facial muscles, it warms up their core, it strengthens their support, it helps smooth out everything that follows. And a typical lip trill is almost exactly as Eddie does. And you keep doing that until you feel your facial muscles are relaxed and you're able to keep the breath flowing steadily and you don't have to force the air out. Now, the next thing that Eddie did is a bit sus. So he went straight from lip trills into shouting for some reason. So what we usually do from there is we try to catch our position. Typically for an opera singer, your vocal position is that of the lower larynx. I mean, your larynx or your voice box is lowered in such a way that you feel the divot go down. So, I think Vladimir Chernov put it best when he said that singing is not like speaking. When we're singing, especially with opera, the sensation is to cough. Now that's the feeling. Now that's the feeling of a lower larynx. So now that you've worked out the lower larynx, what you start doing is once you work that out, you go and then you start doing your scales. You go up and down. The next thing that TwoSet addressed was range. Now, Brett played beautifully on the violin, but Eddie did not give an accurate representation of what a range is. So I'm going to take a guess and say that Eddie was trying to replicate the range of maybe a baritone. So a baritone's range starts on an A, the A below middle C, which is and extends all the way to sometimes and that's a G, G4. Some baritones can sing higher than that. They sing an A flat, an A, a B flat. I personally cannot. Some sing lower, like a bass baritone typically should be able to hit the F and the G, but repertoire is made for an ideal voice type, and so sometimes adaptations have to be made. Now, This discounts a falsetto range, as Eddie so accurately represented. So, a falsetto. I am not a countertenor, and I never claim to be. There are lots of singers who can sing way higher than that in their falsetto range. So the next thing Eddie did was try to get a pianist or whatever orchestra he was imagining talking to transpose on the spot. Now I don't need to tell you that that is reprehensible behavior on the part of the vocal student or performer, and it should not be tolerated under any circumstances. Now, vibrato. That was the next thing that TwoSet discussed. Now, on the violin, vibrato is one of the first few extra techniques you learn on the violin. So you have hand vibrato, then you have finger vibrato, and so on and so forth. But for a voice student or performer, you sing a vibrato by changing the position of the larynx, and not by, as commonly misrepresented, is moving your jaw. A vibrato, or rather a straight tone, goes as follows. Ah. The same tone with vibrato is ah. Now, vibrato as a tonal technique is used to extend phrases. It gives you that last bit of push you need to get to the end of a phrase. So, like Eddie was singing Nessun Dorma there in a totally different key. So, I want to take a different piece. I want to show you with and without vibrato. So the piece is Avant de quitter ces lieux from Faust by Gounod. Avant de quitter ces lieux, sol natal de mes aïeux. That is without vibrato or with considerably less vibrato. Now with vibrato. Avant de quitter ces lieux, sol natal de mes aïeux, à toi Seigneur et roi des cieux. So, if you can hear, it's extending the voice. It's allowing me to finish a phrase without having to take deeper breaths that would interrupt the flow of my position. And the next thing they discussed is a trill. Now, Eddie did this funny thing where he did a Tarzan imitation. While that does technically count as a trill, I would say it doesn't fit into the operatic context. Now, a good example for a trill is you use the same technique as a vibrato, but instead of vibrating between two positions on the same note, you take two positions on different notes. Now that is an example of a trill. Admittedly, on the next point, we don't really do tremolo, and admittedly, unless you're a polyphonic singer, you can't really sing multiple notes at the same time. The next thing that TwoSet dealt with in their video was learning alternative techniques. Now, admittedly, there aren't that many alternative techniques in opera because opera likes to stay in its own lane and likes to separate itself from pop music or other kinds of music, so we don't really adapt. We stick to our own techniques. But they did show Eddie learning to speak some languages. Now, as an opera singer, we take diction classes. So in diction classes, we learn first and foremost how to pronounce Italian words. Now, because most opera is written in Italian, it is really important to get your Italian pronunciation perfect. And if not, some Italian person is going to catch you out on it. Second most important, I'd say, is German. And third would be French. And fourth would be Russian. And if you're a zarzuela singer, you'd sing in Spanish as well. So knowing at least enough of the language of the song that you're singing such that you're able to understand and portray the mood of the song is enough. You do not have to be fluent in the language, and you don't have to be able to speak it to a degree of, let's say, Montserrat Caballé, who did interviews in all the languages that she was known for singing. The next part of the video dealt with tuning. Now, when we're tuning, or rather when we're trying to get the pitch for singers, we'd ask them to sing, and we go, give us a D, and then we practice a scale on that. Now that should give us a tuning for that piece. Now the next bit is about taking care of your instrument. Now obviously violins are really expensive things, they need to be kept in perfectly stored conditions, but your voice is exactly the same. You do not want to be in a cold, dry room for a long period of time. Ideally, you want a humidifier in your room to prevent you from drying out your throat. And yes, warm tea with honey and lemon on a casual day. If you are in a performance, I'd say maybe drink a green tea with maybe lemon in it, but no honey, because honey is still sugar and sugar is going to clog up your throat. And yeah, if you're doing a concert, I'd say stick with water, warm water. In their last point, they dealt with instrument price. Now, while I realize that violins can go for a lot of money, like Stradivarius violins go for millions and millions of dollars, the voice is just as important. And if you don't treat your instrument right, then it's all for naught. Your voice, Eddie didn't portray it exactly right. You're not born with the technique that you have maybe 30, 40 years down the line. You are responsible. It's your responsibility to grow technically. And now taking care of your voice is tantamount to having a good tone. If you don't take care of your voice, your tone isn't going to be good. That's all. I think TwoSet are amazing. Don't go attack them for misrepresenting opera. This is another just for fun video in case people are curious as to see what exactly real opera is about. So thank you, and I'll see you guys in the next one.